Last year, the AFC was a wild and unpredictable conference, with many seeds being decided in the last week. With so many great young quarterbacks, it'll be exciting to see how this race turns out with the likes of Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and Joe Burrow, all duking it out to see if they can even get a playoff spot in this treacherous conference. So here are my division winners this year in the AFC. Starting off with the AFC South, I think this really comes down to two teams, the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. And the Tennessee Titans won it last year, but this year I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts. They had a huge upgrade at the quarterback position, trading for Matt Ryan. I think Carson Wentz is holding this offense back. And I think bringing in an experienced veteran like Matt Ryan, who, needs to revive his career a little bit. I think he was struggling at the end there with Atlanta, but he's going to be placed in a really good situation. They're bringing back Jonathan Taylor, who in my opinion is the best running back in the NFL, right up there with Derrick Henry. I think those guys are 1A, 1B, but I think Matt Ryan is going to be able to take over this offense and really make do with some decent weapons. They have Michael Pittman still. Maybe they go out and sign another receiver. We'll see, but I think that this Colts team is in a really good spot right now, especially with that defense, led by Darius Leonard. They bring back a lot of the pieces there, and they add Yannick Ngakoue. So I think that they made some good additions in the offseason, and I think that bringing in Matt Ryan is really going to improve this team and make sure that they make the playoffs, and not only that, win the division in the AFC South this year. Next up, we got the second best division in football, in my opinion, being the AFC North. The Bengals won it last year, and I'm going to go with them to win it again this year. They bring back a lot of the core that they used last year: Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, that offense that was electrifying last year. And they bring back a defense that was really solid for them in the playoffs and got stops when they needed to, especially in games like the Chiefs in that second half and the Titans. I think their defense made some really clutch stops, and they bring back a lot of those players and even add a little bit through the draft with guys like Daxton Hill, safety out of Michigan. I think he'll come in and he'll do a really good job of pairing with Jesse Bates there in that secondary. We'll see if they move on from Bates, but I think they keep him for this season, and they form a really good secondary there, adding Daxton Hill. So I think when you bring back a lot of the key pieces that they brought back, that they had last year, and another year for Joe Burrow to progress and improve, I think that this Bengals team is going to win the division again, especially now that Burrow has an improved offensive line. They go out and get Lyle Collins in free agency. They go out and get Alex Kappa. So they're really building a line around him, not to the level where it needs to be, but they're improving it. And I think that defense that was really good for them last year will continue to have success. So I think that Cincinnati is going to win this division again. Baltimore maybe has a shot. Pittsburgh. All these teams really. The Browns, they get Deshaun Watson, they have a shot. But I think the Bengals are going to have another great season with Joe Burrow leading the charge. And I think that they're going to win the division this year. Next up, we got the AFC East, and in my opinion, this is the easiest one to predict. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. In my opinion, they're the best team in football, and I don't really see the competition in this division that could really challenge them for that top spot. You could argue maybe Miami with the addition of Tyreek Hill and Teron Armstead, but I think they're a much more talented team than the Patriots and the Dolphins. You bring back Josh Allen. He's going to lose Brian Daboll, who is his offensive coordinator, and really allowed him to have a lot of success in the NFL. But, a lot of the key pieces on this team return, and they're even adding a bit on defense with the addition of Von Miller. So he should be able to help with that pass rush that needed a little bit of improvement, but he's going to come in and fill that void, and offensively, they're one of the best in the league. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, that's the trio that can put up a lot of points. So I think Josh Allen has another big year, maybe even an MVP year for Josh Allen, and I think Buffalo might even finish as the number one seed in the AFC this year. I think they're that good, and I think that Josh Allen can really lead this team to a Super Bowl. if the defense can hold up, which they were pretty good last year, just faltered a little bit in the playoffs. But if, maybe he wins a coin toss, there's a chance they're in the Super Bowl. So I think Buffalo is probably the best team in the AFC this year, and I don't really see a lot of other competition for them in this conference. So I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East this year. And now we have finally arrived to the best division in all of football. I mean, any of these teams could win the division and any of them could come last. So I think it's just a testament to how good all of these teams are and the massive off seasons that they all had. The Raiders, they go out and get the best wide receiver in football, arguably, with Devontae Adams and Chandler Jones. And the Broncos, they get their guy at quarterback with Russell Wilson. And the Chiefs, even though they lose Tyreek Hill, they still added a lot of pieces in the draft. So, I mean, I think that all of these teams had huge off seasons, but man, I think this is the Chargers' year. I mean, they arguably had the best off season out of anyone in the NFL, just because of all the pieces they added on that defense with Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson. Those are huge additions. I mean, their pass rush is now elevated to top 3, maybe even the best pass rush in the NFL, pairing Joey Bosa with Khalil Mack. So, I mean, up front, they're set now. They add Sebastian Joseph Day, who is a huge addition to this defensive line because he solves one of their main problems last year, which was their run defense. So he's excellent at stopping the run, one of the best in the NFL, and I think that him and the addition of Austin Johnson should shore up the middle there and make them a much better run defense. And then you look at adding on the back end J.C. Jackson. He is Mr. INT for a reason. Great at causing turnovers and just a great all-around corner. So he'll definitely be locked down in that secondary that is starting to become one of the best in the entire NFL with Derwin James there in the middle. If he can stay healthy, he is a game changer for this team and, can take away the best weapon on another team. You saw in that Chiefs game, when he was on the field, Travis Kelce was completely neutralized, and when he got hurt and had to come off, they were a completely different defense. So I think he's the main factor there, but these pieces they added around him are surely going to help this Chargers defense be taken to a whole new level. And I think Brandon Staley didn't really get a fair chance with this defense. He didn't really get the personnel that he needed last year. So I think that they have a lot of players on this defense that can create turnovers, and I think that's going to be their identity, is creating turnovers and taking the ball away so that they can get it back to the offense. And I really think that this year could be an MVP year for Justin Herbert. I mean, he's in the second year of this offense with Joe Lombardi, the first time since high school that he's been in the same offense for more than 1 year. So I think he'll be a lot more comfortable this year. They bring back Mike Williams, maybe even his favorite target. I mean, just to see their connection last year was special, and I think it'll only continue to grow. And they even add more protection for him on the right side there with the addition of Zion Johnson through the draft. So I think the Chargers are building something, man. I really think that they're starting to form an identity of being aggressive, whether that be on offense, going for it on fourth down, and creating turnovers on defense. So I think there really is a culture change, because in prior years, they didn't really attack free agency like they did this year so aggressively. And I think part of that is Justin Herbert's rookie deal, which allows them to have a little bit more flexibility with the amount of money they spend. But I really think that the Chargers are a completely different team this year, and I think that they have a chance to go on a Super Bowl run. And with a guy like Justin Herbert, he can definitely take you to those heights. So I think the Chargers are going to win the AFC West this year. But if you guys disagree with any of my predictions for these divisions, leave it down below in the comments. If you did enjoy, please like and subscribe. And that is AK21 out.